Hi, everybody, and thanks for joining us for the PHNX Suns pregame show brought to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's #1 sportsbook app. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you know whenever we are live. I'm Lindsay Smith. That's Gerald Bourget. That's Espo. Saul Bookman will be joining us in the postgame. But for now, the three of us are who you got. Welcome in. Tonight, it's the Phoenix Suns and the San Antonio Spurs. How you guys feeling about this one?
Oh, I'm better than you. You were just saying you were tired.
I am.
So
I'm tired and I'm
here
hungry.
for it.
And I'm going to be real angry at the end of this night if we don't have a win.
Yeah.
Somebody feed Chelsea.
Feed Chelsea first.
I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, this is the Spurs, not the team that they used to be. To put it mildly, it's always difficult on the road, especially for this team. This year, they have not been spectacular on the road, but this should be a pretty good Saturday night, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the Spurs have lost 9 of their last 10. They have guys that are questionable or out for tonight. So this should be a game that they win. But again, nothing's guaranteed when you're 7-17 on the road. So
they're 14-35. If the Suns, with the guys that they have gotten back from the injury report, can't beat the Spurs tonight, I don't even want to know what our mentions and the chat's going to look like in the post-game show.
Shane, can you clip that for us?
Are you kidding me?
It's going to be 10 times worse.
I'm not trying to jinx it, like
Lindsay.
knock on wood, touch metal, whatever your thing is, but my goodness, y'all.
Yeah, that would be bad.
It's not even like, you can't even call it a trap game. It would just be like a complete and utter like
that would be
meltdown.
a step on a rake and hit yourself in the face kind of
game.
Which this season has felt like that's a possibility at times. Look, this should be a get-right game for DeAndre Ayton. He's a few more days away from having been sick. Hopefully it's a night where he can put the 6 for 20 in his rearview mirror, come out and at least tamp down some of the criticism that we heard the other night. Hopefully this is a go out there and take kind of care of business kind of night for DA and the rest of this team.
I mean, it is Coach Popovich's birthday.
It is.
So maybe his guys will be feeling a little something extra, trying to get him a W on his birthday.
No, let's get it done early so he can go drink his wine and
there we go.
Enjoy his birthday with an L.
He can go hang out with whomever he'd like after this game and celebrate in other ways, that's for sure. My thing is like the Spurs are, everyone's already commenting on it in the chat. The Spurs are in full-on tank mode, right? Have we even discussed the possibility that the Spurs could maybe land Wembanyama?
Yeah, I've had that dream in my nightmares, and I've seen
like I don't think I've seen a
Popovich
single person mention that. But I mean, granted, I'm not paying a ton of attention around Spurs fan bases or anything, but like we've joked about the Lakers or the Pelicans, but like, what about the Spurs?
You know, honestly, I'll regret saying this, but I would not mind seeing Gregg Popovich get one last great young talent and try to mold him. As much as I have hated the Spurs over the years, I genuinely like Gregg Popovich. I genuinely feel like he is one of the greatest of all time to do it, and I'd love to see him do it one more time with a young big guy.
Yeah.
I'm shocked to hear these words come out of your mouth.
I don't want him to win a title, but I want to see him have success before he goes out.
You want him to do well, but not that well.
Yeah.
I get it.
I want the Suns to win a title and Gregg Popovich to have a good few seasons on his way out.
Yes.
I mean, that's fair. Giving that guy another big guy when he's had Tim Duncan and David Robinson seems like it's unfair to the rest of the league. I feel like no one really talks about the Spurs as a tanking team because they're just not sexy for whatever reason. Yeah, they are. They've got a bunch of young guys, and aside from Keldon Johnson, like none of them are really panning out quite yet. I don't know. That would make me uneasy as far as the next 5 to 10 years.
Okay, Pop ain't gonna be there much longer.
But beyond Pop still, like we can't count out just Wemby's like talent on his own, regardless of who coaches him, right?
I mean, honestly, I would much rather have him in the Eastern Conference so he doesn't become that. But if it's going to be the West, I'd much rather see him in San Antonio than New Orleans. You
Yeah.
put him with that New Orleans group,
That's
they're
facts.
a juggernaut. You put him in San Antonio, they're an interesting young up-and-coming team.
Yeah.
Put him on the Rockets, and then we can
No.
worry about them later.
I think the Rockets have much more young talent than the Spurs do, where
they're about to fire their coach, I feel like.
Yeah, well, I mean, then they're going to have Wemby and be searching for a coach that they can get a good young
Yeah, but if you
coach in
got
there,
Wemby,
so.
then that's a pretty big selling point
Yeah,
for a
exactly.
coach to come there.
I'd rather them not there. So,
I don't know.
by the way, Killer Mike, I didn't see you at Santan. You should have said hi. So,
Suns Worldwide says Spurs are going to put up a solid fight, especially the fact that the Suns struggle with bottom 5 teams. You're not wrong. We have seen the Suns kind of be a little lackadaisical, if you will, against teams that they, in theory, should beat and beat mightily. But hopefully tonight is not one of those nights. Hopefully they have a little bit of pep in their step after losing to the Mavs yet again.
yeah, I know I'm not allowed to mention food since you're hungry, but the Suns do tend to play with their food. This feels like it could be that kind of a game just simply because it's not a game that you really get up for. So, but they better come in locked, and they cannot afford to take anybody not seriously right now.
Mhm.
They've put themselves too far in a hole. They have to win every game that they're supposed to right now, and it starts tonight.
Yeah, and like you said, this is one you can't afford to lose when you look at the Western standings. And I think coming off a game where everyone was talking about, situational awareness, where Monty called out his own bench and saying, like, once we started putting in bench guys, the focus and the energy fell off, and that can't happen. He literally said, we're not deep enough, we're not good enough to play like that. So I'm interested to see how they respond tonight against a team that, like you've been saying, historically, they've kind of played with their food a little bit, but they need to come out and respond to what we saw in the last game, because let's face it, losing to the Luka-less Mavs is a bad loss, even with your best player out.
I'm going to put you on the spot. I have a question. In terms of playoff tiebreakers and stuff, I don't remember. Does Western Conference records come into play in that? Because that's another reason why even these kind of games come to greater importance. I think I saw that the Suns actually have one of the better records in the West. Is it second best right now?
I need to check what their record is in the West.
I'm just throwing all this stuff at you.
They are 19-14 in the conference. They're 8-0 in the division. I can't remember which comes into play because there's a list of things for tiebreakers. It's kind of complicated, actually. But based on what I've seen, the Suns actually fare pretty well in terms of tiebreakers to this point. Still a lot of games to be played, a lot of things to be decided there. But they have set themselves up nicely for potential tiebreaker situations.
Yeah, because how much it's bunched up, those tiebreakers are likely going to come into play. So conference is not part of it. All right. Okay. That was our esteemed colleague, Saul Bookman, who just walked by, allowing me to know that. But yeah, but still, I mean, this is all going to come into play at some point with how bunched up it is. I'm sure there'll be more than a few tiebreakers that go on throughout the West. So.
Absolutely. All right, well, let's look at the injury report tonight and see what we're working with. On the Suns side of things, unfortunately, Devin Booker, Payne and Landry Shamet all remain out. We are getting closer to that second reevaluation for Devin, which would come midway through this upcoming week, right?
Wednesday.
So we'll keep you posted on what we hear from them. Then on the Spurs side of things, Josh Richardson, Jeremy Sohan, Romeo Langford are all questionable. And then Devin Vassell is out with a left knee procedure issue.
Yeah, and the good news for Booker is that he is traveling with the team. We're getting closer to that reevaluation, and it feels like next week's at some point, probably later in the week, we might see him back on the floor.
Yeah, some people were saying at the homestand, but now it's appearing like it'll be on the road that he'll likely come back next week.
Yeah. So. The only unfortunate part about, well, not the only, but one of the tougher parts about keeping Devin outside of losing games is personally from like an all-star perspective, likely won't get as many votes because a lot of people put so much stock into how many games you miss.
I honestly, I'm not that bothered by it because if there was a year where not playing in the all-star game may be of benefit for him, it's this year. I mean, he'll just have come back. The last thing you want is in a meaningless exhibition to wind up re-aggravating something. I'd rather see him take the time
Yeah, I mean, I feel for him because 2 of his All-Star selections have been injury replacements. Now this year, he was a borderline MVP candidate before he got hurt and would be a no-brainer All-Star if he had, played the requisite games. But at the same time, like to this point, Zion and him have played the same number of games. I know the Pelicans have obviously won more games, and Zion is Zion. But like, if we're looking at numbers, if we're looking at games played, like he should be in there.
To be fair, though, if you looked at the Pelicans' record with Zion, what was that record? If you look at the Pelicans' record with Zion and the Suns' record with Book, the Suns were in a better position ahead of New Orleans at that time. So if that's a factor, I think it's actually in Book's favor there when you're looking at record. May he get in with if he comes back and has, a good few games before reserves are selected? Is that Thursday?
It's Thursday, so he won't even be back Wednesday.
He'd likely have to be an injury replacement at that point.
I think so, and I think it's too bad because, the reserves are named on Thursday, and the coaches' votes, I don't even know when those need to be in by, but it's probably coming up pretty soon, so he won't be back before that happens. It's tough for Book. You look at the last 2 kind of wild card spots, there's 3 guys that come to mind: De'Aaron Fox, Dame Lillard, and Devin Booker. And I feel like, the Kings are so good, they probably are going to get 2 All-Stars. And deservedly so. Fox should be an All-Star. Dame has been putting up really good numbers, even though the Blazers aren't playing that great. So
and Dame is still widely loved.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see. I don't know. All right. Well, who you guys got tonight? By how much?
I have the Suns by 10 tonight. I think this is a bounce back game for them.
Look at Gerald and I being optimistic. I have the Suns by 9. Who would have thought?
Well, Saul and I both have the Suns winning just by a little less. Saul's got them by 5, and I have them by 6.
Okay.
I would like this to be like another Hornets game earlier this week where Mikal and CP and DA and the rest of them all come out like 3 minutes into the fourth quarter and don't see any more action. That's what I'm hoping for with this one. What do our friends over at the DraftKings Sportsbook app think?
I think the DraftKings Sportsbook app agrees with you and Saul a little bit more than Gerald and I. They have the Suns as a 5-point favorite tonight.
Okay.
Which on the road is more like 7 or 8. So that's...
I'll take it.
Yeah. Well, you could, if you took the Spurs right now, you get plus 165 there. So it's... I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it either.
You can get okay odds.
I don't think that's what I would put my money on. Actually, I know it's not what I would put my money on because on our DraftKings picks of the games, I took the Suns to win as a part of my same game parlay. So it's the Suns money line, Mikal with 1 or more threes, and Chris Paul with 3 or more rebounds. Super easy stuff tonight at a plus 100.
Hold on. You had to go that deep to get a plus 100.
That's a lot.
Suns money line, Mikal 3 and Chris Paul 3 rebounds. That's a lot of effort to get plus 100.
Because like the odds of the Suns winning, Mikal hitting 1 3 and Chris Paul having 3 rebounds are like should in theory be like a minus 500.
I mean, but if I'm gonna go 3-leg parlay, I'm getting better than plus 100. That's just a lot of effort.
No.
It's an easy win.
This is a great strategy.
I feel like it's an easy win.
Look, I went plus 100 and I only have to do one thing. Cam Johnson over 16 and a half
but again, if this turns out like the game when I took the over on Mikal and he got pulled before we even had like the fourth quarter was almost even started, you're not going to hit this bet.
I'm calling a hell of a game by the Sweet Baby Angel. He will almost go that over in the first half.
Okay.
Which he mostly has been like maybe. 2 of the 3 games since he's been back.
All right. And then Saul has the Suns money line, DeAndre and double, and the Suns team total under 113.5 at a plus 550.
Okay.
So.
It's actually, that one doesn't feel like it's out of the realm of possibility here either. The under 113.5 might be the toughest part of it.
That might be my concern with this one for sure. So that's what we are putting our money on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. If you guys want to get in on the action, 4 NFL teams remain, 2 conference championship games, and only a few more shots for you to win big on the playoffs with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Counting down to Super Bowl 57, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in free bets instantly. So if you have not already, be sure to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make sure you use that code PHNX because, like I said, new customers can bet $5 on the conference championships and get $200 in free bets instantly only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code PHNX. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details.
Shout out to Mike B, the super chat here, $5 from Mike. Says, sup fam, dropping in saying hi at the casino at Blackjack, sipping whiskey. Up 105,
Nice.
LOL. Just made my DraftKings bets ready for the game. Mike B, that is why you are one of the greats in our chat. That we love you, man.
Attaboy, Mike
Keep
B.
it going. Make sure you leave while you're up. Okay, just throwing that out there if you're out at the casino.
Keep going.
Don't listen to Shane.
Find the panda slots. That's
There you go.
There are panda slots at Talking Stick. If that's
Oh,
where you
really?
are. There's
Yeah.
one, and he's very mean.
Okay.
Mean panda.
So don't find the panda at Talking Stick is what you're
That's
saying.
rough.
Another super chat from Mike B said, doing good. So here's another 5. LOL. Love y'all. Enjoy the game.
nice.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. We appreciate you.
So now he's up 95. Right?
No, he
gave us
said
10. So.
Doing good here. So here's another 5. So maybe he won more
Maybe. All
in,
right.
in the like
Thank you,
5
Mike B.
seconds between super chats. So shout out to you, Mike B. All right. More cowbell, meaning more trade rumors.
Yay.
Everybody's favorite topic lately around the Suns. So there's quite a few little nuggets of information we're going to dive into. First and foremost, we'll talk about Matt Ishbia. This came from Hoops Hype.
Yes.
And they said Ishbia's purchase of the Suns, following his purchase of the Suns, 2 names have emerged as potential candidates to join the Suns, according to various NBA executives who've spoken with Hoops Hype. So former Thunder Vice President and Chief of Staff Paul Rivers and former NBA point guard Mateen Cleaves, who was also Ishbia's teammate during Michigan State's national championship run in 2000.
Yeah, Ishbia has Mateen Cleaves as part of his organization right now at his mortgage company. So that one didn't surprise me. Good friends.
No.
I'm sure it'll be some cursory role. It won't be anything major.
Right, because
for
right
Mateen
now
Cleaves.
he's like a motivational type.
Yeah, I think he's kind of a
role?
coach for their people,
Okay.
kind of talk them up, get them in the right mindset. So I'm assuming that's nothing big.
Mhm.
The other one, I cannot figure out what a chief of staff is
in the
in the
NBA.
NBA. So I don't know if this guy, Paul Rivers, would come in and be some kind of business basketball hybrid, if
Mhm.
he'd be over James Jones, if chief of staff is higher, if this is some precursor to trying to get Sam Presti like we heard earlier on. I have no clue. That's where I'm
Well,
at with that.
Wouldn't you think that if it was on the basketball side, like if it was it would be vice president of basketball operations?
Yeah,
You would think, right?
assume-
Instead of just vice president, seems to me more like it's on the business side of things.
Yeah.
But he started on the basketball side. He was in video. Then he was a executive in basketball operations under Presti. So maybe it is some hybrid role where you are kind of looking over both sides, which we know the business side is going to undergo a large change when Matt Ishbia comes in. So maybe that's part of it. But the more we hear, the more I'm to believe if James Jones remains, there will be somebody overseeing him at some point, which sounds crazy because he's the president of basketball operations, but org charts mean jack squat. You can always put somebody over him.
Yeah, I remember when James Jones took over as or president of basketball
Vice
operations.
president. There was no president, right? Wasn't he vice president at first?
No, when he recently
Yes.
became.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, no, you're good. When he became president of basketball operations, he was talking about being able to do more big picture stuff instead of focusing on the day-to-day type stuff. So I don't know how much bearing this type of thing would have on that if he does stick around, or what kind of role they're envisioning for Paul Rivers. But it could be, like you're saying, a hybrid, because it sounded like when James Jones was talking about what his role was going to be, it sounded like he was expanding from just basketball stuff to more big picture kind of things.
Well, and that whole promotion was weird. Happened before they had even taken offers or were just going through offers for the team. Sam Garvin, obviously under the guidance of the disgraced future former owner, gave him that promotion. So I always kind of wondered, was that more of a golden parachute in case
I think so.
the new guy went in and wanted to change things than anything?
Yeah, I think it was kind of trying to insulate himself, which obviously won't matter much if a new owner comes in. But they did. He and Monty just got contract extensions aside from the president of basketball operations thing. So I don't know.
I mean, I don't blame them at all for taking care of what you would consider like your own, right?
Well,
Give your
especially when
people-
it's not your money anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not a surprise. It didn't come out of left field for me at all. All right, so a couple trade things. Within that same Hoops Hype article, we learned that multiple teams have expressed interest in Allen. League sources said Greyson Allen, right? He has come up in several 3-team trade concepts with Suns forward Jay Crowder. So we've talked about Greyson Allen a couple times on this show. I think a lot of people are against the idea of having Greyson Allen on the Sun squad. But Gerald, you brought up a really good point around this little nugget of information.
Yeah, I feel like this is good news that every time Greyson Allen comes up in conjunction with the Suns, it's as part of a 3-team deal, which means they have no interest in Greyson Allen, because if they did, we know the Bucks, we've heard all like the last couple months, the Bucks want Jay Crowder. They're interested in Jay Crowder. They want to trade for Jay Crowder. So if the Suns had interest in Greyson Allen, I feel like that deal probably would have been done by
a
now.
very long time ago.
And I feel like, but at the same time, it's also concerning because you look at the trade deadline. Okay, if they don't find a better Jay Crowder deal, that might be the one that they have sitting on the back burner for like a last resort. We have to get something out of this guy. And that is not unrealistic in terms of, okay, are they going to be able to find something better? You hope so, but we might end up with Greyson Allen just as like a last resort kind of thing.
I still think you'd find some kind of 3-team deal if there is interest in Greyson Allen, and it's just and if you really don't want him at that point, we'll take some highly protected pick. I think there'd be something else. You're not going to take a guy on that you really don't want. That I'd imagine there's probably some questions on how he'd fit in with this group too. So, and with Monty to be frank. So I'm guessing you wouldn't just simply do that.
And it is worth noting that like Cam Reddish has been available from the Knicks, and the Knicks are mentioned as a team that might have interest in Greyson Allen, I believe, in the same article.
3.
But at the same time, Cam Reddish doesn't make enough money, so you'd have to add another piece to make it work. He only makes $6 million. So something to keep an eye on.
Or if push comes to shove, and maybe because some people in the chat have brought this up when we've talked about James Jones kind of holding out with the Jay Crowder trade, that come closer to the trade deadline, maybe they'll get a little bit more desperate, knowing that Greyson Allen is not somebody the Suns are wanting to bring back in, and up the ante a little bit in order to get a hold of Jay Crowder.
By the way, our friend Craig Morgan in the chat. Happy early birthday, Craig. We know about your party.
Can't wait.
Well, it's actually Sean's party hosted at Craig's house.
I'm so
Okay,
excited to eat the pie that your wife is making.
Yes.
It's going to be my favorite part of the whole entire month. Best pie ever. Okay, anyway, next up, we've got Zach Lowe telling us to keep an eye on the Suns when it comes to a John Collins trade, and that the deal might be able to be done with expiring salary and a pick or 2, but maybe just 1.
Yeah, so earlier in the season, I think before the season started, he had thrown out the idea of Crowder, salary filler, and like 2 first-round picks for John Collins. And at this point, John Collins is not worth 2 first-round picks unless they're like very heavily protected. But if you can get it done for Crowder and like a Shamet or a Šarić and a pick that's protected, I don't know. It doesn't solve your main issue. Your main issue is still ball handling and shot creation, neither of which Collins brings to the table. But there is some need at the 4 for some size, some rebounding. It wouldn't be the worst, but if Collins is all there is, I'm looking at him as a guy like, okay, can we maybe trade him somewhere else after the season is over?
But I think if you're looking at bringing in somebody with those expirings and that's the best you can get, it does keep your options open, and it could potentially help you in some situations this year, which I think is where we're headed here. And Atlanta has been rumored to have Crowder interest. So that's a much bigger name than most people expect to come back in some kind of a Crowder deal. If that's the best deal out there, as long as that first round pick is lottery protected, I roll the dice on that and see what comes of it and take a chance.
Yeah.
I still would rather, look at D'Lo. I still think that one may make more sense. And yes, I get it. The chat, oh, well, Gambo shot these names down before. Well, guess what? He hasn't shot them down yet this time. And that's what intrigues me the most, because he has been very quick to say no to both of these guys and has been radio silent on both of these guys. So you never know.
This time around for this most recent rodeo, especially with D'Lo.
Right. Things change. Like, he was recently shooting down if the Suns had any interest in Jalen McDaniels, and then the other day came back and said, oh, well, you know what, maybe they might in the future. So but these things change.
Everything's changed with Matt Ishbia, because now, if we're to believe the reports that he wants a win now move, that does change things. That means the pressure's on to find a guy that makes an impact, not just nibble around the edges and find a way to acquire Torrey Craig for a third time. You can expect maybe a bigger move.
I will say I'm not a huge fan of the Collins move. I know it provides you with size and rebounding, but he has not shot the ball well this year at all from 3, 26%. He can't create his own shot. He's another guy that if you put him on the floor with DA, I don't know how the spacing looks there. I don't know how that works. And especially, I don't want to see Collins come in and Cam Johnson go back to a bench role. Like, they need to have Cam in that lineup to create the disadvantages for opposing defenses that he does with his three-point shot, to open things up with the spacing. And then if you're bringing Collins off the bench, okay, this guy makes 23.5 mil this year, 25.3 next year, and 26.6 the year after that. Again, I feel like if you're bringing in Collins, it's for let's see how he does during this playoff run. And if it doesn't look fantastic, I think you try to flip him somewhere else.
Yeah, well, and I think this isn't checkers right now. There's some chess, maybe of the 3D variety going on, because you got to think about what's Cam's future. Are you looking to move DA? How do you make sure that you get something for these expiring contracts, so then you could potentially bring something else in? Like, there are so many levels to what you're trying to accomplish in this, while also putting yourself in a position to still compete for a championship. This is probably the most complicated trade deadline from all those factors that we've seen in a while.
Yeah, for sure.
As far as John Collins go too, he's been rumored to be available for a very long time. Do we feel like that's something that's team specific with Atlanta, or do you think it's something that is player specific?
I think it's
or just the fit. Maybe
I think it's both.
Yeah, I think it's both. And like we just saw, and again, things can change, because Miles Turner has been in trade rumors with the Pacers for years now, and he just got a 2-year extension. Now, that doesn't mean anything, because he's still technically trade eligible. And honestly, this extension might make him even more of a trade asset.
Tinfoil hat.
Oh,
They
boy.
like DA.
Oh,
But
boy.
these things can also change. So I don't know. I think it's more about his fit with the Hawks and how much they wound up having to, kind of a similar situation to DA, honestly, because they had to pay him to keep him because they weren't liking the trade offers that they get. Not that the Suns were trying to trade him, but now they're stuck with a guy that they feel like they're paying a little bit too much to, and maybe they can make up what he brings with a trade somehow.
And I don't think he and Trey, the rumors aren't necessarily
there's that too.
the best of friends.
And how many times have we talked on this show about the fit of DA and the Suns maybe being the issue?
Yeah.
So who knows? If John Collins moves, maybe he goes to another team and finds better success there.
Yeah.
It's just something to keep in mind. Anyway, thanks for joining us for the pregame show, you guys. We appreciate you. Don't forget to meet us right back here after the game wraps up. Bye.
Hey yo, my lifestyle is retro. Tell the Phoenix Metro. Megas in control and he ain't never gonna let go. PHNX though, Lindsey, Gerald, Espo. Saw pass the ball, we here to turn up the tempo. Got to understand me, I'll always rep the family. Rally in the valley like